about RPGs because that's why we're here. And yeah, I've changed it away from AD&D books. I don't know if you noticed, but it's now RPG books because I suddenly realized we've been looking at different RPG role-playing games as well. And today I've got something really interesting to show you. And well, it's not interesting. It's a different sort of game. And some of you might be watching, I think it's called the Ring of Power at the moment. Is still up. I can get rid of that. Yeah. I was just trying to put something else on the screen. That's what I was doing. But no, I'll remove it. Let me put the ticker up because that gives somebody, it looks like something's happening there. So you might be watching, I think it's called the Ring of Power, the new thing on Prime Video. And I've made the mistake of watching each episode when it's come up. And so now I'm really annoyed, because I've watched episode 3 and each episode it sort of like leaves a cliffhanger. And I'm sort of like thinking, well, what's happening? What's going to happen here? So then I have to wait a whole week to watch it. And I just sort of think, I was listening to Fenster on his Twitch channel last night, and he was saying he hasn't bothered watching it because he's going to wait till it's finished and then just binge the series. So, and I'm not very good at box sets or series. I tend to watch the first 3 and then give up. So anyway, but all of us have to admit that Lord of the Rings, we've either seen it or we've read it. It might be the up-to-date films that we've seen, but there was also a cartoon created of Lord of the Rings that actually stopped just after the Balrog scene. It stopped there. They never made the others at all. But there was cartoons made. There have been the real-life films, and there's been the books. And I think everybody knows about Tolkien and Lord of the Rings. And that's why I was super excited when the next game came out. And in those days, there was a lot of boxes. So you got a game in a box and everything sort of like came with it. And so this box set came out. So it's role-playing. It was called Middle-earth, and it was all about role-playing game in Tolkien's fantasy setting. And you can see that I've had it. You must admit that I keep my boxes in good condition. I hope you realize that. So inside, I really like the front cover there. I think that's absolutely brilliant. Sauron and his orcs, or Saruman and his orcs going into battle. So in it, you got, this was the rule book. I like smelling it because it smells very rusty and musty, sorry. And it had all the things. So just so you know, this has broken. Look. Okay. But it's fine. And I don't know what I was doing. It smells like Middle-earth. It does. I don't know what I was doing because, look, I actually went through, I'll lift it over the mic, and highlighted things. Can you see that? I've actually gone through the book and highlighted bits to help me. Now, I can't actually remember ever playing Middle-earth. I think we might have had a go at it, but never sort of like played a proper game. And the system Middle-earth was based on another role-playing game that I'll show you later called Roll Master. And Roll Master, they sort of like simplified it and used the Roll Master books or the rule set to create Middle Earth. And so this was sort of like a less is more sort of like rule book compared to Middle Earth. And if you come back next week, I'm going to show you Roll Master. So the interesting thing about it is that all the spells in Middle Earth, you learned a mastery, and then that mastery had several different levels to it. So let me give you an idea. So there's something here called Animal Mastery, okay? And at level 1, you can make one animal fall to sleep. Level 2, you can cloak, allows the caster to blend into the surrounding terrain and become undiscoverable by animals. Number 3 allows you to summon them. Number 4 allows you to talk with them. Number 5 allows you to control the actions. Number 6 allows you to summon but more advanced monsters. 7 means that you can locate them. 8, befriend them. Animal empathy at 9, and a big summon at 10. So what you did, they were more like spells. So there were some classes. Hang on, let me just find. So there were races. And then I think there were, let's have a look, physical appearances. I don't think, professions. So yeah, so here are the professions. So you could be a warrior, a scout, an animist, which was a cleric. And that really makes me smile, because in Mithras, an animist is somebody who controls spirits. A magician, a ranger, or a bard. So those were the only professions that you could be. Warrior, scout, animist, mage, and ranger and bard. It was nice that the bards had a place. I mean, sure, as you look at mage, I don't know if you can see it. Yep, there's Gandalf and Aragorn, of course. Typical straight in there. But it was a percentile dice system. So everything, you had skills. So you have 50% with the sword. So you had to roll 50% or less to actually do damage and things like that. So it was very much like Mithras being a percentile system. There was, I'm just trying to find it. It was a really good setup. The other thing that you had was that you had separate tables for one-handed concussion, one-handed slashing, two-handed, etc., etc. And it looked like that. So you had different damage and different to hits with different armor. So your weapon might do hardly anything to plate, but do a lot to soft armor. So you could see that it was starting getting really, really complicated. You know, so there was sort of like different hit tables rather than just one. Now, just out of interest, with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition, that had something similar, but it was down to your class. So it was all about to hit armor class 0, which was called Thaco. And I talked about it before. So if your Thaco was 15. You knew that you needed 15 or above to hit armor class 0. So if the armor class was 2, then instead of 15, you would need 13 because it's easier to hit. And if your THAC0 was 15 and the arm class was -2, then instead of 15, you would need 17 and it would go up. Now, every single class had a different THAC0. So a fighter or paladin or ranger to hit arm class 0, their THAC0 might be at 5th level, say 12. But a mage at 5th level, their THAC0 might have been 20. And a rogue might have been 10. And clerics might have been 17. So you actually had different to hits. And the way that they rationalized that was to say, okay, you're a mage, you haven't done a lot of combat, hence it's more difficult for you to hit people. But a fighter, you have done a lot of combat training, so it's easier for you to hit. And so all the THAC0s would be different. And this is sort of like based on a little bit on that system that the different weapons did different damage. So in first edition, you know, blunt weapons like maces, staffs, hammers would do more damage against, well, they would damage skeletons normally, while a sword always did half damage. But the fighters had a better chance of hitting than the mages. And I find that that's something that hasn't been communicated across the 5th edition. I know you have proficiencies, and so you might get a better to hit, you know, you might get more adds on. But, you know, generally everybody's got that same chance to hit or not. So each one had a different to hit. Now, the other things that it had is that if you fumbled, okay, you rolled a percentile dice. And each weapon had its own fumble table. So, for example, this is a hand arms fumble table. If you got 81 to 86, it says, bite and swallow your tongue in excitement. Stun for 2 rounds. 87 to 89, lose your grip on your weapon and reality. Stun for 3 rounds. The higher up ones were literally lethal. Okay. You fall off your mount, roll a D-crush critical on yourself. It's just like, what? This was the missile fumble. So a missile. So if you chuck something, I got a fumble. You slip and pin your foot to the ground with a bolt. Plus 10 hits. 2 hits per round. Minus 30 to activity. Stun for 3 rounds. Can you imagine it? Halfway through the game, halfway through a combat, you would just see a whole load of people so like falling onto their own swords and just sort of like dying. You had spell failure as well. This was a spell failure. Okay, then. This was on a roll of 110. So what happened? The worse the fumble, you would get bonuses to your positives to your dice roll. Here's a lovely one. Strain causes severe stroke. Paralyzed from the waist down. That's it. It's not so like paralyzed from the waist down for 2 rounds. It is strain causes severe stroke. Paralyzed from the waist down. Full stop. It's just like, what? Can you imagine if it was your first ever game in Middle Earth and you've made up this wonderful character and you thought, you know, I am Gandalf the Grey, and then also the first time you cast a spell you suddenly realise that the strain has meant that you are paralysed from the waist down. Exactly. It was lethal. Absolutely lethal. And there was a fumble maneuver failure table. So a maneuver was something like climbing a wall or jumping over something. Okay. And for this, you had the following. You fall and the resulting concussion causes a year-long coma. Can you imagine it? That wasn't the worst one. You fall and land upon your lower spine. You are paralyzed from the waist down. Take 30 hits. And the top fumble for maneuver. So say, for example, you were climbing up a wall and you fumbled. The worst thing that could happen to you is your fall turns into a dive. You crush your skull and die. It's just like, what? And just to let you know, there was slash and criticals. The monsters had critical tables and fumble tables as well. But you had spell crits. So as well as all those fumbles, you had critical tables for your weapon. So say, for example, you were slashing with a sword. A roll of 120 says, strike to head destroys brain and makes life difficult for the unfortunate fool. Expires in a heap immediately. So you could actually kill things with one critical hit, you know. And things like spell criticals for large creatures. Here, head strike, momentarily confused. Superb strike drives rib through heart, drops and dies in 6 agonizing rounds. I mean, go on. Can you imagine if you were a DM and you had just made up this massive fight, this massive monster, and the person on the first roll rolls a crit and then actually rolls it and it just kills it instantly. It's unbelievable. There was a whole load of spell criticals as well. This was a heat. So if you were casting like fire, all that remains are charred bits of teeth and bone. You know, it was just sort of like unbelievable. It really was unbelievable. So next week, I'm going to talk about Rollmaster. And if you think Middle Earth was complicated, you wait till you see Rollmaster. But there are just small things that I wanted to show you out of the box. So the box actually gave you figures. I don't know if you can see those. So if I turn it up that way, you might be able to see some of them better. So you could actually cut these out and make them up. And just out of interest, it shows you how to make them. Look there. This is how you do it. This was a series of maps that you could use for your game, which was brilliant. And here you're going to be excited about this. Here are some of my characters. So I've actually got some of my characters there. I think I did. No, I don't think I ever used them. because in those days we had miniature figures. So this character was Zelrith. He was a mentalist, a highman, and I don't know what he was carrying or anything. He had spell lists and PowerPoints. I had, this is a classic name, I had a character here called Asprina, who was an animist, a cleric. Asprina, do you get it? Like an aspirin. She was an Umli. Galadriel. Yeah, of course, I had to have a Galadriel. But notice, I don't know if you can see how... Galadriel. She was a mage. Witherwind, who was a Dunedain and was a ranger. That's cool. And then Goldmoon, who was a half-elf and a bard. And all of these are first level. And I don't know. I don't know what's happened. I can't remember. Yeah, he had PowerPoints. That's how you fueled your spells. And I don't know how I actually got some of these items. You can see that some of them seem to be crossed out, etc. So I'm not too sure whether or not I've played them or not. So it's a bit of a mystery, that. So I'm not too sure whether or not I did play them. I have no recollection of playing them at all. It's just sort of like one of those things that I've never ever done. And yeah, so that was Middle Earth. Now hang on, I just need to do this. That's going to be for the thumbnail. Okay, that'll do. So that was Middle Earth, and hopefully you can see how complex that was compared to D&D 5th edition or D&D 1st edition. But next week I am going to show you the most complicated RPG that I've ever played. Okay, you will be absolutely amazed about the level of complexity of it. You really will. So do come back next week to hear that. Just out of interest, I was looking at modules for 5e next week. Oh, honestly, you'll be amazed. I was looking at modules for D&D, and there was one that was called Forgotten Realms, The Ruins of Myth Draenor, in a module. And look, I've actually got the original box set of that. Notice the condition of it. Absolutely superb. Condition of it. So we'll definitely have a look at that 1 week as well. So yeah, thank you for coming along, everyone. I really do appreciate it. It's been lovely sharing another role-playing game with you that I've had for a number of years. Yeah, I'm going to, I don't know, I might leave the video as a whole or cut it down. I haven't decided what to do with these at the moment. But yeah, thank you for your support, and thank you for listening in the first part when I was having a good moaning mini session. I have to say that I don't have them often, but I always try to pull myself back somehow and climb that slippery slope. up to the pinnacle again, but we will see what happens. I'm at work tomorrow and Wednesday, so I'm going to try to stream on Twitch on the evening. I might actually try to stream on YouTube. That'll be interesting. But I'll definitely be streaming Thursday night and Friday night, and we're going to be doing some more Guardian on Guild Wars 2. Yeah, you're right. That's a good Greek mythology, that. But if I'm home in time tomorrow and Wednesday, I'm going to try to do a surprise Minecraft stream. So do keep a lookout for that. Thank you so much for coming along, whether or not you're watching this live or you are watching the video. I really do appreciate your support. Yeah, and I will see you all next Monday for more RPG. Looking back on RPGs, I might even make them a little bit longer, I think. So yeah, do come along from there, and thank you for watching and being. Yeah, see you later, Mattis. Look, thank you for being here. Okay, people, I will see you all next time. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, but most importantly, stay positive. And remember, if it makes you happy, it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. See you all soon. Bye. Click.